Hi, I'm Rich Torrey. Welcome to another Level Up Cartooning. All you ever need to follow along with me is a pencil and paper. It doesn't get any easier than that, right? So as we've kicked off our summer drawings, we've been focusing on some of the human body styles from the vast Hanna Barbera library, starting with the gang from Scooby-Doo. Yes, I know we also drew Scooby, but how can you draw all the human characters and leave Scooby out? Anyways, this week I've decided to highlight two of Hanna Barbera's more iconic human characters. One lived in the Stone Age and the other in the year 2062. I'm of course talking about Fred Flintstone and George Jetson, who, by the way, starred together in a 1987 two-hour TV special called The Jetsons Meet the Flintstones, in which Fred and George swapped time periods due to a time travel experiment gone wrong. Well worth the watch, and you can find it on most of the streaming platforms. Two things I want you to focus on as we draw Fred and George. First, notice how exaggerated and unrealistic their bodies are compared to the gang from Scooby-Doo. George's body is sort of like a bowling pin, while Fred's is like a barrel. And second, notice how neither Fred nor George have a neck. There's a reason for that, and if you stick around to the end, I'll tell you what that is. Anyways, before we get started, make sure you hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button as it helps this channel to grow, and hit the bell so you never miss a lesson. Alrighty then, let's draw two of Hanna Barbera's most iconic characters of all time, Fred Flintstone and George Jetson. We're going to draw Fred and George step by step, giving you the secret formula to be able to draw them again and again. If you watch any of my other videos, you know I normally use the character's head to figure out how big the entire character is. In this drawing, while Fred and George's proportions are slightly different, they're both the same height, and they are both just under 3 heads tall. In other words, however tall their heads are, their entire bodies are just under 3 of those tall. Alright, so let's draw the roadmap for Fred Flintstone and George Jetson. So there's a roadmap for Fred and George. Now we're on to step 2. In this step, we do what I call roughing out the features. I want to remind you that until the third and final step, you want to be drawing as light as possible. You'll see that I use guidelines to help me to know where to put our two characters' eyes, noses, mouths, and some of the other things. We don't want those guidelines in the final drawing, so you want to draw them light enough to be able to erase them easily. Okay? So let's rough out the features for Fred Flintstone and George Jetson. Okay, so there are the roughed out features of Fred and George. So now with the roadmap done and the features roughed out, it's time for that final step. In step 3, we get to have fun. We get to draw in the final details of our two Hanna Barbera superstars. We don't have to guess where to put things because we've already done all the hard work to figure that out. As I often say, now is the time for you to be present. And what I mean by that is you don't want to just mindlessly retrace over the lines you've already drawn. As you're drawing that final line, you want to be thinking about how you might improve it. Stay vigilant until the very end. Okay, so let's draw in the details for Fred Flintstone and George Jetson. And that's how you do it. There you have it, two of Hanna Barbera's greatest characters, Fred Flintstone and George Jetson. So how do you think you did? Understand if you've never drawn either Fred or George before, you cannot expect to have drawn them perfectly. You'll notice I don't spend time coloring our characters during this video because I want my lesson to focus solely on the drawing process. Now you have the secret formula, the process for drawing Fred Flintstone and George Jetson. And with that, you can draw them again and again. And by all means, color them when you're done. I promise each time you draw them, it'll be a little better and a little easier. I also promise the more you work with me, the better you're going to get at all of your cartoon characters. So I'd love to see your drawings of Fred and George. If you can, take a picture and post it on either Facebook or Instagram, and don't forget to include the hashtag #LevelUpCartooning. Okay, so as promised, here's the reason Fred and George don't have necks. The fact is, many other Hanna-Barbera characters don't have necks, and they often wear collars or ties, even some of the animals. Why? Well, it was a time and money-saving technique. By breaking the image up into two parts, the head and the body, animators could concentrate on animating the characters' faces without the need to redraw the body each time. Instead, animators would take a pre-drawn body pose from an archive or a library that had dozens of body poses and match it as best as possible to get the desired expression, saving time, and what's the old saying? Time is money. So there you have it. Anyways, I hope you had fun with this one. Remember to subscribe and thanks for joining me. Until next time, keep drawing, my friends.